Hey folks, just the other day, an ambitious agent asked, and let me get this right, my listing still isn't sold and I don't want to upset my seller. How do I tell her what she needs to do?
Welcome to What's Working Now, Tuesday at 2:30 live on Facebook.
Cool. So Marjorie, today we're going to talk about not being a yes man. So tell us a little bit about the experience you had the other day.
So the other day, a seller invited me over, and her house had been on the market for a couple of months with another agent.
Okay.
She wanted to know, why isn't my house sold? So I walked in, I looked around. Number one, there was trash. There were piles of mail in the front closet leaking out to the entry foyer. There were drawers that didn't open and close that you could see visually inside these beautiful walk-in closets. There were kitchen cabinets that were just painted where the paint was dripping. This is not a cheap house. Paint was dripping. There were drawers that were taken apart. Pieces of things were in the dishwasher. They weren't put back together. There was no furniture in the house. It's not a new house. It was older. It just didn't feel homey, cozy, welcoming. And the price was totally out of the price range.
So what was the seller like?
Oh my gosh. Wow. I can't believe she walked around. She said, I haven't been in here. I trusted my agent. I figured that, if a light bulb went out, they would tell me. There were no light bulbs. The globes were dirty. I mean, it was just, I could go on and on. She was flabbergasted by the condition that these agents were showing her property and had not picked up the phone to call her and say, hey, you need to clean this. You need to dust that, or they should do it. You need to change the light bulbs. Where are the light bulbs? She was just beside herself.
So she was actually mad that the
mad.
agents hadn't told her the truth.
And she also hadn't gotten a fair estimate of the market value. I saw the information that she had from the agents that they used. They called them comparables. Nothing's ever comparable. It's just neighborhood sales that are bigger, smaller, nicer, not as nice. And she showed that to me. And when I looked at it, I saw that it was clear where her house should be priced, and that's not where it was. So somewhere there was something lost between this is what's going on in the neighborhood, and we're going to price your house way up here.
Okay. So, what we've got is, look, on this planet, there are basically two types of agents, okay? There's the one type who wants to be everybody's best friend, doesn't want to make anybody mad, okay? So they'll tell a seller whatever they think the seller wants to hear, okay? Then there are others who, I think, do their job, and they tell their sellers what they need to know. For those of you that think not telling them what they need to know is the right thing to do, well, just look at this example. This seller was mad not because they told her what to do, but because they didn't tell her what to do. Her goal, nothing makes a seller madder than not selling her house.
She said, Marjorie, I want to sell my house. What do we need to do? And everything I told her was a total opposite of what she was doing. I didn't give away all my secrets, but they're not really secrets. The house needs to be clean. It needs to look good. It needs to be welcoming. It needs to be priced well. Aside from what marketing are they doing and how I don't agree with some of those things that they were doing. But it was bad. And it was, I wondered why there was a sign in the yard and why the agents took the listing. I wasn't sure what the...
Okay, well, that's another distinction. Some agents list houses, other agents sell houses. Right. Okay, so what's the seller really want? Okay, if they just want a sign in the yard so they can tell their friends how expensive their house is for the next 27 months while
and
it's on the market.
There are people like that, but this person didn't seem to be that in that category.
Okay, so let's talk about kind of how to bridge the gap. Okay, let's say you've got a property and price is going to be sensitive with the seller. Conditioning and staging might be sensitive with the seller. Okay, and you may not win all the points going in. Okay, but how do you approach that seller in the listing process?
One of the ways that I found recently is very effective.
Okay.
Is
don't keep him in suspense.
Is I bring my iPad and I say to them, okay, so you want to price your house at this number. Let's look and see what other houses are priced at that number around your house and what they look like. And I know in my brain, because I've already done the homework before I got there, that these houses that are priced at that number are nicer, bigger, newer. So then you run into, oh, Marjorie, thank you so much for showing that to me. I can see how those houses are not nearly as good as my house. Okay? And that happens, and then that's just where you are. And you may not get that listing.
Okay. Or here's the other thing is,
But that's very effective.
okay, but the first thing is, the way you handle it is, you tell them the truth. Okay.
I say, I'm going to be straight with you.
Okay.
I'm going to be straight with you, Mr. Stewart, because I know I have nothing to lose. Because there's no point for me to put a sign in your yard and overprice your house and have it sit on the market for months with no activity.
Okay.
And that's really, and is that, you know, and I have to probe a little bit, because sometimes you ask a seller that, and that is what they want. They want a sign in their yard for a year. They want the agent who's going to take the listing for a year. And if that's who you are, that's okay. But if what you want to do is sell the house, you just need to tell them, I'm going to be straight with you. Let's talk about the market.
Okay.
This is what's really going on.
And does that always work?
Most of the time, but not always.
Okay. So let's say you've made your case, you've told them the truth. You need to price it in this price range. I recommend that you do, if you're going to price in that price range, you do this, you do this, you do this. Okay.
Right.
And you don't get everything you want, but now at least you've set the stage for maybe not what their expectations are, but what your expectations are, and what you expect, how you expect the market to respond to it. And maybe you take it higher than you'd like. Maybe they don't do everything. Okay, but now you expose it to the market, and now it's time to have a conversation. And in our market, that's after like about 10 days. Okay.
I'm going to say this, though, because you and I were having a conversation earlier, and I said, you know what, Bill, I think I just took an overpriced listing.
Right.
Because, you know, I got into that. I didn't get so much into that yes man mode, but I listened to their story about what they paid and all the money they put into it and how they need to get that money back. And, you know, I put that aside, and I said, okay, that's nice. And I talked about what you really need to know, but somehow we ended up on their side of the fence when I signed the listing agreement with the number in it. Okay. And I did it because I knew in my brain, well, I gave them what they need to know, and we talked about we're going to do this, and then we might have to change it later. But I also know deep down inside that that's more difficult than if I beat her up a little bit more while I was sitting there.
Okay.
Because
So it may have made the next step of your job a little bit harder.
Yes, right.
But you have at least prepared them somewhat. And I mean, that's the first thing.
But I still
folks,
did it. I
is-
still told her what she needed to know.
Right. I mean, that's the first thing. It's really hard to not tell the seller anything, to not have given them any advice. I mean, you know, here's a lot of agents' listing presentation. How much do you want? Okay. Okay, that's the presentation.
Okay, sign here.
What do you want to do? Nothing. Perfect. Sign on the dotted line, and let's see if we can sell it in the next 5 years.
Right.
So, you know, number one, you owe it to your clients to tell them the truth. Okay? If you're not going to tell them the truth, then you shouldn't have a real estate license. But doesn't mean you're always going to get everything that you want, but you might get it listed better, and or you might have done your seller a favor by positioning, giving them an idea of how their place is positioned in the marketplace, so if it's not sold in a week or two, that they'll reevaluate and come closer to what you've advised.
That's an important point. That's a very important point. Bill was saying after 10 days, after 7 to 10 days, you're going to know if that house is going to sell. And you're going to start having nightmares because you know it's not going to sell. So at that point, it is very important to just go back and reevaluate. Do what you've already done. Show this. Let's look at the market. Let's see what's happened in the last 2 weeks. Let's look at who's coming to the house, who's called. Because if you did set them up in the beginning and were straight with the people and let them know what they need to know, it won't be as difficult in that next week to say, look, we need to review the market.
Right. So and it's important that it's not just what you said at the listing presentation. This is a process. You're updating them all along the way. You're getting feedback. Okay, you're gauging. No one's showing it. Well, that's feedback, folks. Okay, lots of people are looking at it. Nobody's biting or asking questions. That's feedback. So it's not just okay. We had this one conversation. and then 10 days later we have another one. Okay, you're also kind of papering your file, setting the stage, giving them the facts every step along the way, so that when it's time to make another decision, perhaps change direction, a new price, whatever it may be, maybe do some more work, okay, it's not a shock to them. Okay, and as I said, people overestimate people's ability to handle the truth.
Right. So just don't be a yes man. Just don't go in and sign it up. Make sure that you go in and you paint the picture, and you show the information, you show the facts. Don't just talk. Show the you show the pictures, you show the market, you show the comps, you show your other sales. This is how this happened. This is what's going on here. And if they don't pay attention to it right away, maybe 2 weeks from now, or 3 weeks from now, they will.
Just remember, folks, just start with the truth. Okay, don't be the yes man. And thanks for joining us on What's Working Now. See you next week. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, that was good. Except my shirt kept on like that.